My name's Gary Matthews. I'm from Mackay in North Queensland, and I was actually employed as a tenant advice and advocacy worker with Tenant Advice Mackay. We actually did deal with people in public housing, community housing, private housing, you name it, we dealt with it. Even a few people in boarding houses and situations like that. I got into housing advocacy, first of all, because I thought it would be challenging. I've needed advocates to help me in various things over the course of my life, so it was also a chance to help others, to put back into the system. In a lot of cases, people would come to us, they had been served a notice to leave because their rent was behind. That was probably the most common thing we got. And we'd sit them down, talk about how far they were behind, talk about how they could get up to date, how they could get ahead again, and then make a plan, and then talk to the lessor or the lessor's agent and pitch that plan to them. 9 times out of 10, if they could see that there was an agreement in place and the tenant was willing to have a go, you'd save a tenancy. So that way you've saved someone from becoming homeless with all the problems that attach to homelessness. One of the things that I found with working at Tenant Advice was the variety of people that you deal with. You're talking about tenancy law, and we've had people who were on a disability pension, people on unemployment benefits. I had a lawyer come in once asking for advice on tenancy law. He was actually a criminal lawyer, practicing criminal lawyer, but tenancy law completely escaped him. So we had a huge variety of people. You really couldn't pick it. The success that I'm most proud of in my time at Tenant Advice and Advocacy was a win that I had for a family of South Sea Island residents or tenants. They were actually being quite badly ripped off by a private owner. They came to me and I rang the owners and really just got an earful of racial abuse, just racial vilification like you would not believe. And I said to them, I've noted what you've just said down in case we have to go to a tribunal. And as soon as I said that, the whole situation changed and they got their money back. What was owed to them, properly owed to them. That would be the thing that I'm most proud of. Some of the more vulnerable people that I've assisted over the time I worked there would be people with an intellectual disability. And with what you're talking about with a tenancy agreement is a legal contract. And just like a lot of other legal contracts, the wording can be very obscure, very difficult to understand. And sometimes it's difficult for people to actually to know what their rights and obligations are, and certainly to fight for those rights and obligations for themselves, which is where the role of an advocate comes in. Advocacy on a systemic level is obviously different to individual advocacy. What you're talking about there is advocating on behalf of groups. QDN has actually developed 4 principles that will lead to a good housing outcome for people with disability. The first is rights, where people with disability have the same rights to housing assistance as other people. Secondly is choice. People with disability get to choose where they live and with whom they live. Inclusion is about independence. The housing is actually fostering their independence, both themselves and as members of the community. And the 4th one is control. And that's basically about the separation of the provision of housing management from the provision of other services for people with disability. Advocacy actually underpins those 4 principles and makes sure that they're put in place. Everybody really, no matter who they are, wants a place of their own to live. Now that means different things to different people. But this type of advocacy, this systemic advocacy that QDN and other groups are involved in, is trying to address the basic need of people, with a disability to have choice and control over where they live, how they want to live, and basically so they can participate more fully in society.